It says, can a tenant break a lease without penalty due to HOA harassment? The short answer is no. And so I don't exactly know what they mean by HOA harassment, but if your HOA is sending letters or saying the covenants say X, Y, and Z, and you or your tenant are not complying with what the covenant says, that's not harassment, that's notice. So I don't know what action in this particular scenario amounts to harassment, but let's say instead that a neighbor is harassing your tenant. And the neighbor, for example, lets their dog run around in your yard, and that dog barks at your kids, and has just come up to you and maybe not bitten you, but that dog is causing you a bit of anxiety. Are you the landlord on the hook to deal with that problem? You actually are, because the tenant is entitled to quiet enjoyment. And so even if your neighbor is causing some problem, with their dog, or maybe the neighbor is loud and obnoxious, that might end up being an issue for you that you have to deal with your neighbor. These are not common issues, but if it rises to the level of harassment, or in this case where the neighbor's pet is coming, you might have to install a fence or do something to prevent that neighbor from in some way bringing harm to your tenant. Yes, that might be. But in terms of the HOA sending letters and saying, look, you're in violation of this covenant due to X, Y, and Z, notice from the HOA is not harassment. And no, the fact that the tenant is violating covenant terms and then being notified of it is not a proper basis for the tenant to leave. If they leave, they're in breach and they're on the hook for the rest of the term.